It's official now. Every trade, every signing the Boston Celtics have made this offseason is locked in. No more speculation, no more pending physical or league approval disclaimers. The deals are done and we're looking at a brand new Celtics roster. But with that clarity comes a new set of questions. What's next? What is Brad Stevens cooking up behind the scenes? Because you better believe he's not done. Let's break this down. The most eye-catching part of this offseason wasn't even about who the Celtics brought in. It was about who they let go. Kristaps Porzingis is out and Drew Holiday is no longer wearing green. That's massive. The trades involving both players sent shockwaves through the fan base, especially considering how much each one contributed. Now they're gone. Porzingis is officially a Hawk. Holiday a Blazer. For now, at least. These aren't just minor tweaks. These are foundational moves that shift the entire vibe of the team. The Holiday trade especially got messy. It had to be amended because of medical concerns. Nobody's saying what exactly popped up in his physical, but it was enough for Portland to pull back on the original deal. Initially, Boston was set to receive Anfernee Simons and 2 second-round picks. That's not what ended up happening. The Trailblazers took those second-rounders off the table. The Celtics still got Simons, but now it's a straight-up swap. No, draft assets coming with him. And that matters. Those second-round picks could have been useful chips in future deals or for adding depth. In this era of roster gymnastics and cap management, even second-rounders are currency. So what does this tell us? Portland clearly found something in Drew's medicals that made them say, let's back off a little. Could be his hand, his groin, just general wear and tear. It's all fair game. Holiday's been through battles. Most players that age have something show up during the physical, but when it's just enough to make the other team pause, you know it's something they weren't completely comfortable with. Either way, the deal changed. And now Boston's front office has to pivot again. Anfernee Simons is officially a Celtic. George Niang is too. Those are the headliners coming in, but they're not alone. Boston also signed Luka Garza, Josh Minott, and brought J.D. Davison back by picking up his non-guaranteed deal. Hugo Gonzalez joins the mix as a draft addition. That's a decent influx of new faces. But here's the kicker. After all these moves, the Celtics saved close to $20 million. That's right, over $63 million went out the door in trades, while about $43 million came back in. If you're keeping score at home, that's a near $20 million swing. And right now, they're just a hair over the second apron. About $300,000, over which is nothing. One small move can fix that. Cut J.D. Davison trade up. Minimum contract, boom, you're under. But this is where things get tricky and interesting. Brad Stevens has options. The Celtics can make minor tweaks and land safely under that second apron. That's not the problem. The bigger question is how far they want to go. Do they want to sneak under the first apron too? Do they want to fully reset their tax situation? Because let's not forget Boston is deep into the luxury tax. We're talking over $20 million above the threshold and counting. That number adds up quickly, especially when you factor in repeater penalties. The tax bill can go from painful to punishing in a hurry. So if you're Brad, maybe you keep pushing, keep flipping, keep cutting until you're back in safer financial territory. And that brings us right back to Simons and Niang. Neither guy feels like a long-term fixture, especially Simons. Let's be real, the Blazers could have traded him to any number of teams. They chose Boston. That says something. Teams weren't exactly lining up around the block for him. And now that Boston has him, they're shopping him again. This is not a player they're planning to build around. This is a player with value, maybe, and the Celtics are trying to unlock it. He's got 1 year left on his deal, around $27 million. That's not cheap. And he's going to want a new contract soon. If you trade for him, you're getting his bird rights, but you're also taking on the challenge of figuring out what he's really worth. Is he a $27 million player in today's NBA economy? Is he a long-term piece? And would he even stay if traded somewhere like Utah or Chicago? That matters. George Niang is in a similar spot. He's a solid veteran, can stretch the floor, knows how to play within a system. But at over $8 million, he's a luxury piece. He's not essential. If Boston can attach a second-round pick and send him into someone's cap space, that's a win. Indiana might bite. Maybe a team like Toronto or Utah, teams with cap space or full mid-level exceptions, could absorb Niang and give Boston breathing room. These aren't needle-moving deals, but they matter when you're playing the financial game at this level. Let's imagine a scenario Boston flips Simons for someone like Kevin Huerta, who makes $18 million instead of nearly 28. That's a $10 million difference. That alone gets Boston close to the first apron. Now move Niang for nothing. That's another $8 million off the books. Suddenly you're talking about 12 to 18 million in savings depending on the package. That changes everything. You go from a cap-strapped, repeat-attacks team to one with some flexibility. You can use trade exceptions. You can make smaller moves. You can operate like a normal franchise again instead of being locked into tax hell. Now, will they go that far? We'll see. But the direction is clear. This isn't the Celtics loading up for another title run. This is a reset. A smart, calculated reset designed to maintain competitiveness without letting the payroll spiral completely out of control. They're still going to be good. This team isn't tanking. It's still built around Jason Tatum, Jaylen Brown, and Derek White. They'll win games in the East. They'll be a playoff team. But this is a transitional year, a gap year, as some people call it. A year to test out new pieces, maybe hit on a surprise contributor, and stay financially agile heading into the next phase. Don't forget, training camp invites are still coming. Exhibit 10 deals will be signed. Summer league performances will lead to real opportunities. Someone like Garza or Minot could play themselves into a role, or Boston could use those back end. Hey, guys in deals to shave off even more salary. They've got 15 roster spots right now, but that can change overnight. These guys are on the bubble. J.D. Davison, Nehemias Quader, even Xavier Tillman, any of them could be moved if the right opportunity pops up. And yeah, maybe Boston doesn't get all the way under the tax. Maybe they stay in the repeater for one more year. But there's a massive difference between paying $80 million in tax and paying $20. That's what's at stake here. Every move, every trade, every contract decision, it's all about that number. Brad Stevens is playing chess and he's trying to do it without throwing away a competitive season. Coming up next, we're going to dive deeper into what happens if Simons is flipped. Who are the realistic targets? What teams make sense? And how close can the Celtics really get to financial sanity without sacrificing too much on the court? Plus, the Al Horford situation is getting more complicated by the day. Retirement golden. State something else entirely. That's all coming up because the Celtics offseason isn't done yet. Not even close. Let's pick up where we left off. Anthony Simons is still in green, but for how long? This is the next domino. You can just feel it. The way his arrival was handled, the lack of media availability, the vague welcome post from the team, it all screams temporary. Boston took him on for financial maneuvering and flexibility not to build around him long term. And the fact that Portland was happy to send him off for Drew Holiday and even tried to throw in extra picks before backing out says a lot. It tells you they were ready to move on, and it also tells you that the market for Simons just isn't what his raw talent might suggest. The truth is Simons is in a weird place value-wise. He's a bucket getter, no doubt. He can score, he can shoot. He can create his own shot. But he's a small guard with questions on defense, and in the current landscape of the league, teams just aren't throwing big money at players like that unless they're elite at something. Simons isn't elite. He's good. He's fun. He might be great in the right context, but $27 million is a serious price tag. And if he wants an extension, which he probably does, it's hard to imagine a team rushing to give him $30+ million per year without blinking. That's why Boston may need to get creative. They might not find a straight-up trade for Simons that brings back draft picks or younger players. They might need to target someone like Kevin Huerta. Again, a solid wing, good shooter plays off the ball, making less money. That kind of move wouldn't just bring positional balance, it would bring tax relief. And in the second of prawn era, that flexibility is as valuable as a solid rotation player. Every dollar matters now. Every spot on the roster has to be justified. You can't stash guys who cost $10 million just to see if it works. Those days are gone. And George Niang, his situation is even more straightforward. If Boston can find a team willing to take him into cap space or a mid-level exception, the Celtics could clear over $8 million instantly. Niang's not a bad player. He can help a good team, but he's not irreplaceable. And if his salary is the difference between Boston having financial wiggle room or not, you make that deal. A team like Indiana could be a fit. Maybe they want a vet shooter off the bench. Maybe they just want a future pick attached. It's possible Boston even buys Niang out to save cash. Not ideal, but in this climate, totally on the table. Now let's circle back to the bigger picture. Right now, the Celtics are operating about $300,000 over the second apron. That's essentially a rounding error. They can get under with minimal effort, but the real prize is getting under the first apron, $12 million away. That would open up several tools they can't currently access. It would allow them to use trade exceptions more freely, take back more money in deals, and generally behave like a franchise with options rather than one backed into a corner. To get under the first apron, though, they'll have to cut deeper. Simons has to go. Niang likely has to go. Maybe one more small salary, someone like J.D. Davison or a minimum contract guy. And if Brad Stevens can pull that off without giving up any premium picks, that's a huge win. You go into the season with your core intact, your tax bill under control, and some flexibility to act at the trade deadline. That's the formula. Compete now, but don't destroy your cap sheet for the next 5 years. It's a tough line to walk, but Stevens has been threading that needle since the day he took the GM job. Meanwhile, in the background of all of this, we've got the Al Horford situation hanging in the balance. The latest reports are split. Some insiders say he's leaning toward retirement. Others say he's considering one more run possibly with Golden State. What we do know is this: the Celtics are not operating like they expect Al to be back. They've filled up all 15 roster spots. They've made zero public statements about leaving the door open. And if he were going to return, they'd almost certainly leave him a seat at the table. So what's really happening here? On one hand, you've got a veteran big man with nothing left to prove, a massive family and a life already rooted in Boston. His wife just announced they're expecting their 6th child. That's not the kind of situation where you uproot everything for one more year on a non-contender. On the other hand, there's that itch, that feeling of just one more. If the Warriors are calling, maybe the temptation is too strong. Maybe playing with Steph and chasing one last ring is enough to convince him, but even that doesn't feel like a sure thing. Golden State isn't exactly a title lock these days. Draymond is aging. Klay's status is murky. They just moved off Kevon Looney, and their young guys are still finding their footing. If Horford wants a ring, the Warriors might not be his best shot. Denver would have made more sense, but that option seems closed now. So does he really want to spend a year across the country from his family for a team that might flame out in the second round? Maybe. But maybe not. There's also the family legacy angle. Al's oldest son is now old enough to really understand the NBA as a business. There's value in teaching him how it works. How sometimes loyalty gets you nowhere, how sometimes you have to bet on yourself. If Al wants to give his son a real-world lesson about professionalism and sacrifice, maybe joining another team even for a year serves that purpose. But that doesn't mean he has to. He could just as easily sit him down and explain the decision. The lesson still lands. So unless something changes dramatically, it looks like Horford is done in Boston. Maybe not officially, maybe not announced, but the Celtics have moved on. They're reshaping the roster, managing the cap, looking for new blood. This isn't the 2022 team anymore. It's not even the 2023 version. It's a team entering a new chapter. Still led by stars, still dangerous, but playing the long game now. Brad Stevens is going to speak soon. Maybe by the time you're hearing this, he already has. And when he does, we might get more clarity on a lot of these issues. What's the real plan for Simons? How aggressive will they be about shedding salary? Is there any world where Horford returns? Don't expect him to reveal everything, but listen closely. The phrasing, the body language, it all matters. Stevens plays things close to the chest, but he always drops hints if you know where to look. Until then, the Celtics are moving like a team that's not done. Expect more moves, expect more camp signings, maybe a surprise trade, maybe a few more minimum deals that turn into something meaningful. Every season, someone from the bottom of the roster climbs up. It could be Garza, could be Minot, could be someone who hasn't even signed yet. And that's the beauty of a retooling year. It's full of opportunity. It's a proving ground for role players, a test of Brad Stevens' vision, and a chance to build the next contending version of this team. Because let's be clear, the Celtics aren't tanking. They're not giving up. They're too talented and too well coached to fall off a cliff. But they are repositioning. They're thinking 2 steps ahead. They're trying to stay relevant. Today, without screwing themselves tomorrow, is smart. It's strategic. And if they play their cards right, it could set them up for another serious run. Maybe not this year, but soon. The Eastern Conference is wide open behind the top contenders. Boston can afford to hover experiment and still make noise in the playoffs. Tatum and Brown are still here. Derek White is an all-defensive stud. The culture is strong, and with some smart moves, this roster could surprise people. Add a little development, a little luck with health, and they're right back in the mix. So now we wait. Wait for the next move. Wait for clarity on Simons. Wait for Brad to speak. Wait to see if Al Horford makes it official. But make no mistake, the Celtics are working. They're maneuvering. They're trimming the fat, watching the market and keeping every option alive. Because this team isn't done chasing banners. They're just doing it a little differently now. Smarter, leaner, with some one eye on the court and one eye on the books. But before we continue, please remember to subscribe to the channel and give the video a like. Your support helps us keep bringing you the latest news about the Boston Celtics. Feel free to share your thoughts on the news in the comments as well. In the ever-turning whirlwind of NBA rumors, one name has been causing quite a stir among fans and insiders alike, DAMIAN LILLARD. The Boston Celtics, a franchise always hungry for championship glory, are reportedly on the verge of closing a mega deal to bring the superstar guard into their fold. While nothing has been officially confirmed, the buzz around the league suggests that a seismic shift could be coming to Boston's roster. For months, whispers have swirled about the possibility of Lillard seeking a new home where he can make an immediate impact, and the Celtics seem like the perfect landing spot. Known for their storied history and recent runs deep into the playoffs, Boston appears ready to go Allen on a championship chase, and Damian Lillard fits the profile of the kind of player who can deliver on that promise. His lethal scoring ability combined with a fearless competitive spirit will provide Boston with a dynamic offensive weapon they arguably haven't seen since their last title run. Sources close to the situation hint that the deal could be one of the most significant trades or signings of the offseason, involving multiple players and future draft picks. The Celtics front office has been tight-lipped, but clearly motivated to make a splash, and landing a player of Lillard's caliber would send a clear message to the rest of the league: Boston is all in. The chemistry question remains: how will Lillard mesh with stars like Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown? Many analysts believe that if the fit is right, the Celtics could become instant favorites for the next NBA championship. Meanwhile, the Portland Trail Blazers, Lillard's longtime team, have reportedly been exploring various options to reshape their roster, which might explain their willingness to engage in such a high-stakes trade. The Blazers might view this as an opportunity to rebuild or shift their strategy after several years of near-playoff heartbreaks. On the other side, Boston would gain not only a proven star, but also a cultural icon capable of inspiring a new generation of Celtics fans. As with all rumors of this magnitude, the story is still developing. Fans around Boston and the NBA at large are eagerly awaiting more concrete updates, while social media buzzes with speculation and excitement. If this mega deal goes through, the 2025 NBA season could start with one of the most electrifying storylines in recent memory: Damian Lillard in green and white. It might be closer than we think. That's it for this update. If you enjoyed the video and want to keep receiving exclusive news about the Boston Celtics, please subscribe to our channel and give the video a like. We always appreciate your comments and opinions. See you in the next video.